Bonjour and welcome to Behind the Mic Live today on LinkedIn. I'm your host, G, and my guest this week, we're going to have like an incredible conversation because I want to know so much about her coaching business and everything that she does. She's a leadership coach, she's a podcast host, and she's an integrative somatic practitioner. We're going to talk about that. Please give it up for Emily Rose Dallara.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Yes, welcome. So I want to know more about your leadership coach program, and I'm really fascinated about the somatic practitioner. So who is Emily?
Who is Emily? That's a good question. I like it. I'm trying not to move around too much on this squeaky chair as well. So I am, and I always hesitate. I used to always answer this like, oh, I'm a CMO and I do this, blah, blah. But actually, I am a perpetual expat. I had a big, long career as a marketer for 15 years in tech. And I grew really quickly in that career. I feel like I collapsed time because I was in Web3. Web3 was this new space, and there was no marketers at the time who were like really in it, and I was. And so I feel like I grew really quickly because of that. Mm-hmm. And not to put aside my skills, I feel like I had good skills too, but I moved quicker than I would have if I wasn't there. Then I was living in Southeast Asia at the time whilst I was going through that journey. And I've always been, I think for the last 11 or 12 years now, I've been an expat. And that's been a huge part of my life, because when you go to your hometown and you are speaking to people who are not expats, you realize how different your lives are and the experiences the experiences and opportunities you've been given, I guess, or found because you took that risk and you left your home country. And so when I moved back to France, I decided I didn't want to be a marketer anymore. I did want to focus more on helping people get through things that I'd been through and succeeded at getting through. And I'd been burnt out multiple times. I'd worked in a crazy environment. I'd learned interest in technology really quickly. And I wanted to be able to share that with people. And at that time, I was going through like a spiritual experience, and I was practicing meditation all the time, doing all this kind of stuff. And so that's how I realized I wanted to start coaching people. I did lots of discovery and self-awareness. And then I reaccredited and became a leadership coach.
So how did you start your coaching business? How did it go from this? It's a passion. You want to help people to becoming a full business.
I found a business coach at the time because I had this idea, and I'd never gone outside of my realm of genius, I guess, which at the time was marketing. I was running. I never used to consider it a business, but I was a consultant. And so I was consulting for lots of different businesses, and that was easy for me because I had all the connections. But I had no clue how to start a coaching business. So I found a business coach who was a coach, helping people do the exact same thing. And she just helped me put one foot in front of the other. She gave me a bit of a framework. She helped me understand sales a bit better because I was terrible at sales. I didn't need to learn how to do sales when I was consulting. And she just helped me to like position myself. And then I think what happens is when you put yourself out there and you are vulnerable, people are attracted to you, and they're attracted to the different things that you share. And so that's what started happening. So I was attracting all kinds of people because I didn't really know exactly who I wanted to coach. And so lots of people came to me, especially founders and entrepreneurs. And then over time, I started to refine exactly who I loved working with. Like I loved working with all these other people, but I felt like I could really help a certain type of person. And so then that evolved to new leaders. And now I just work primarily with new leaders who are going into their first really big role in a startup environment.
So speaking of startup, you're the co-founder of Payant. Is that, am I pronouncing that right? Payant?
Means to be paid in French.
What's that? I'm sorry.
So, you know, when you're in France, right? So when you walk around the car parks,
Yes.
It
Yes.
says payant on the floor.
Yes.
Yeah, it means to be paid.
That's
Like
your
paid
company.
for. Yeah.
That's your company. Wow. Okay. And it's I was reading up on it. It's a blockchain escrow payment solutions for creatives.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more about that? I'm still trying to figure out what blockchain and all that means, but I just love to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts on that. Yeah.
So blockchain is just a technology that makes things a bit easier for everybody. That's it. It's just
Okay.
another layer of tech. A bit like
Okay.
when we first had like data centers and stuff in the cloud. That's all it
Okay.
is. But I, for a long time, was getting paid in crypto for a long time.
Okay.
When you work in crypto, it's really difficult to pay people remotely at the time. That was before they had Deal and remote.com and all these different kind of companies. That was one problem. The second problem was that people didn't like to pay on time. And as service providers and agencies, recruiters, they all have the same kind of problem. And
Yes.
some might say, why don't you use something like Fiverr or PayPal? PayPal's got an escrow solution. Well, that works sometimes, but it really depends on the country that you live in, right? So if you live in, for example, I work with a lot of developers in India. If you
Right.
get paid
Right.
there, it's really difficult to get PayPal, for example. It's really difficult to get certain financial institutions to verify your identity.
Oh,
So
interesting.
many different layers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not in it, you think, oh, I'm fine. I can just pay with my credit card. I can pay with Apple Pay, whatever. Not everybody has that opportunity to do that, which means that you miss out on being paid because clients can get away with not paying you for a long time, especially if you're the one in the company who's not getting paid in their currency. And so that's what I
Right.
found a lot of. So I lived in Vietnam, I accepted US dollars, but if I was working with a company in the EU who paid their whole payroll in
Mm-hmm.
euros, then they would just prolong paying your invoice for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
And so
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and so, but this happened like all the time. So it's all right if you're earning a big amount of money, right? Fortunately, I was in a senior position. We were good. But when I started consulting outside of that, I had to wait like 3 to 6 months to get paid.
Oh
In
my
some
God.
parts of the world, yeah, it's normal. But if you don't expect it and you don't plan for it financially, then that cash flow issue like adds up,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so this was a problem that kept coming up. And then I was working with different vendors and different marketing agencies, and they were like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
can you chase up my invoice? I'm like, what? You haven't been paid either. And so people would just like not. So you imagine you're an agency not getting paid. You've got like 10 people who've done the job with you as
Right.
subcontractors. They're not getting paid. How can they pay for their rent and their bills, right? So at the end, it impacts
Right.
the person who's not earning as much money as everyone else. They're
Right.
the people that I want to help. And usually they're the developers, the designers, the creators, the people who are not able to say, hey, you've not paid me my bill. I'm going to do something about it. They're not able to do that. It's not worth legal costs. And they
Right.
miss out.
They're kind of at a disadvantage because they're the vendor, but the payee is just using the excuse of, oh, it's different currency. It takes 30 days. And so with
Yes.
Payant, it eliminates that. And it's like you're the
Yeah.
escrow to,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so we don't use traditional escrow. Usually, traditional
Okay.
escrow requires a broker or a third
Okay.
party technology. We
Okay.
use smart contracts, and on a very basic level, a smart contract is its own little entity.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can touch it. It's built on code. So, for
Okay.
example,
Okay.
say you hired me. You're like, Emily, I need you to do some work.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. I always ask for a deposit, right? Give me
Right.
$500 deposit. I'll crack on. I'll start work today. You're more likely to send me the deposit if you know that it's safe, that you know that I'm not going to be able to go and not do the work, that your deposit's
Right.
safe. You know that
Right.
it kind of secures a level of quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not worried that you're not going to pay me because the money's just there and everybody can see it, and it's locked into the smart contract and it's based on conditions. So if I don't deliver, the money goes back to the sender. And if they dispute and they say that the
Right.
quality of the work's not good enough, there's a dispute resolution system.
Okay. So you handle all that for the creative then?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And I know your background is in Web3. I'm a little older. I remember Web 1 or even Web 0 before.
Yeah.
Do you remember CompuServe and AOL? And okay, way back.
Yeah,
So
I do, but I was like a little nerd. That's literally how I spent my days. I was like on the computer building websites.
nice. So where do you think Web3 is today, and what do you think is the future, or is the future Web 4? I was reading about that online. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around all this, so maybe you can help me out with this. Yeah.
So Web3 was coined by the guy who owns Parity, I think.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was coined by a guy to create basically a parent, what's the word? Basically a category name for something.
Okay.
But at the basis is just a technology, and that technology is blockchain. And everything in Web3 has to utilize this blockchain technology. That's all it
Okay.
is. It's just a different piece of tech. So it's like, I've got a, sorry if you can hear the dog barking.
That's okay.
If you think back to when we first got cloud, right? And we were using, what was it called? Dropbox.
Yes.
So that, yeah.
Yes.
So then you've got Dropbox, and then
Okay.
Google Drive came. So it's like they're
Right.
just building things on top of this new tech. That's all it is, honestly. But the best thing about it is that it's trustless. So you can tap into this technology without anybody knowing your data. So it's great for people who are concerned about their own privacy and data and security. But it
Mm.
also removes the barrier to entry when it comes to people being able to access that technology. Anybody can access it in multiple different ways. And so that's where the Web3 came from, because people have created multiple different ways, like NFTs, gaming, metaverse.
Okay.
Then we've got crypto on the investment side. So it's
Okay.
literally just a category, I would say.
So my question, and I apologize if I sound ignorant to people that understand this Web3, but is this different than, like, you're not using like a regular Chrome, like to type in websites? This is actually a different technology, like actually incorporating blockchain, NFTs, all the things. It's not really the www3 dots. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
So
Like,
you can only interact with it through an app or a infrastructure, some kind of
okay,
infrastructure.
okay,
So for example,
okay,
Payant. You
okay,
don't need to know that Payant uses blockchain tech. You just need to know that your money is secure.
okay.
That's
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
interacting with the blockchain. That's it.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I've been doing all this research, and I'm trying to read this in like NFT and blockchain, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
But
okay, how does this relate to CompuServe and AOL? No, I'm not.
oh yeah, but I think
Um,
what happens is when people are, I think because I've been in it a long time, 9 years
okay, yes,
now, which I
yes,
can't
do
believe.
tell.
I came in with Bitcoin. Like I was in crypto, Bitcoin
Okay,
investments, Ethereum, all that kind of stuff. And
okay.
I got my first Bitcoin because it was cheaper for me to pay for my co-working space if I paid in Bitcoin. They had they
Oh
wanted
wow.
to improve the adoption of Bitcoin in Southeast Asia. And
Okay,
it was
okay,
massively adopted over there. And so that was my world. And then it wasn't
okay.
until like 2020 when it started to
Mm-hmm.
become Web3 because other things started happening.
Right. So
Mhm.
I mean, you're what a true influencer is. A person who gets in on the ground. No, it's true. Someone who gets in on the ground floor, believes in the technology, believes in what the systems that are in place, and understands it. And then as the rest of the world catches up 5, 10, 15 years later, you're already like, you've got this nice nest, this nice pocket in there, and you understand it. So this is really helping me out, because like I
Yeah.
said, I've been researching on this, and I've been trying to figure this out, and I'm like, okay, I still, but this is great. So, but I
Yeah.
want to know more about, like, I love the spiritual side. I really believe that, like, the secret, we manifest everything, if we're on the right frequency, and how our body has different frequencies that come from the sound engineering background, where we can control, you know um, bring, we can have a loud rock concert that people enjoy because it's mixed a certain way, or we can have a loud rock concert that's not enjoyable because it's mixed a certain way, just because frequencies, how they affect our body. So I want to know more about your integrative somatic practicing.
Yeah. So this is something I started learning. It's been nearly a year now.
Okay.
And I've just done my final exams, actually, so I'm newly qualified. And I'm just going to double check that my laptop's not going to die.
Okay. No problem.
Sorry, everybody who's live.
No worries. This is live, but yeah, this is because I've been reading up on this, but I want to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Yes. So
yes,
the whole basis of somatics is that, well, the word soma means body in Greek.
okay.
And so the idea is that for such a long time, well, it's actually only around 150 years, we've been practicing, you can't really call it traditional medicine, allopathic care. Allopathic care is like going to the doctors, right?
Okay.
Using your, when something's wrong, you rely on somebody else to solve that problem for you. And science has helped us solidify that that's what we have to do. That's allopathic care. That's one way of treating things. And then you've got all these other things, ancient medicine that's been around for thousands of years, that 150-ish years ago were kind of just discarded in the Western world. Right. And so we've been practicing these things for like thousands. They've served us perfectly fine. They couldn't save us in like life-saving, like in situations that were dire, which is where science stepped in, right? So treating cancer, chronic illness, all that kind of stuff. That's why science was invented, because we needed more solutions. We innovated.
Right.
But half of the world, and it's funny, when you live in Asia, it's still fully integrated. So you've got traditional Chinese medicine fully integrated into the Western healthcare system. And I love that approach. It's fully holistic. Whereas in the Western world, depending on where you live, like in France, it's a bit more, they're a bit more into it, like ancient medicine and stuff. In England, no. It's like, you go to the doctor. Yeah. And so I grew up with medical parents. My dad's a doctor, my mum's a nurse. And so that was my whole life. Until I moved to Asia and I started to learn different ways of treating myself. Now, fast forward, I was coaching one of my clients one day, and I've been, as you know as well, to become a coach, you have to learn how to self-coach first. You have to learn how to self-regulate, because you're the best guinea pig for it. And so you go through all your coach training, you get yourself to a level where you're like, I know how to coach me. I'm able to coach other people too. And it's a continuous learning journey. I was coaching one person one day, an amazing woman in Web3, actually, very, I would say influential, and got a really huge job, really tons of responsibility, and we were working together, and all the things were working, and I just felt like there's something else that she needs that I don't know what it is yet. Like, we're moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're moving in the right direction, getting the progress. But I was like, I feel like this is too structured for her. Like, and if you know much about masculine and feminine energy, this is a very much in the masculine. This is a boom, boom, pow, goals, structured, limiting belief work, all the kind of neuroscience, working on habits. I was like, no, there's something else we need to do here. And so then I started digging into, okay, how do we get into the body? Like, I want to learn shadow work. I want to learn, and for everybody who doesn't know what shadow work is basically just uncovering your subconscious beliefs, the conditioning, your experiences, and understanding how that's created your identity. Went into that. So that's part of the somatic training. Went into how emotions are stored in the body, how trauma impacts everything we do. And so if I said to you, for example, have you been through trauma? You'd have to ask me, what do you mean by that, right? Your logical brain's like, I don't know. Have I been through trauma? And most people relate trauma to like terrible life events, like deaths and stuff, and births even.
Right. Wow.
But trauma is big T, small t. Trauma is everything. And it goes 2 generations back. So it's scientifically proven that trauma is tied to the DNA for 2 generations. And so if you're, for example, if my grandma and this is a real life experience. It's very woo-woo, so sorry, audience, but I'm going to try and explain it in a very logical way. My grandma
Okay.
was in the war. She was an Italian, and they were taken over by the Germans. Typical war story, but it was very traumatic, obviously. And she had an awful experience where she lost her best friend as they were running away from bombs, right? It was absolutely terrible.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know this. I had no idea about this story. No one ever told me this because obviously it's traumatic. You don't really talk about this stuff. I'd been absolutely terrified for no reason of fighter jets my entire life. Absolutely
Really?
terrified. Like I couldn't be outside when there was airplanes like this. And where we used to live, there used to be lots because they have like lots of military bases around the area. It's in North Yorkshire. I couldn't explain to you why I was so scared of this. And over time, it still scared me, but my logical brain knows I'm safe versus when you're a child, right? So I know I'm safe. I'm not going to die. And it kind of went away, but still, sorry. Hold on, something's going on.
Okay. I can hear you, but I lost video.
Oh,
okay. There you
camera.
are.
It just threw my camera off. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Okay.
We've lost one light. We've got a good setup. But yeah,
That's
so
okay. Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
So basically, I was scared of this forever. And then I did a healing with somebody, and they said, "Oh, your grandma came up in this healing. She had some really terrible trauma that happened to her. Explained a bit about it. And now it's fine. Like that's stopped now at you. That trauma won't be passed on."
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, cool. Wow. Yeah. And so I learned about all this through my somatic training, and that helped me to understand and get my head around it. And then I remember saying to my dad one day, I did this healing one day, and like he's very much into it now. He's like down. I've explained all the science stuff to him. He gets how frequency impacts bodies, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so my dad said to me, he told me the whole story about what happened. And he said, "Oh my God, I never put two and two together. That's why you were so terrified of it."
Wow.
Yeah.
So somatic is like you're really going to the root of what. So
Yes.
how is this different than Reiki? Is where the healer's energy is. What are your thoughts on that? The difference.
So Reiki heals the energetic body.
Okay.
It's all part of it. So we have got different body systems, and one of the ones that we kind of focus on here are we focus on all of them, but it's mind, emotional, energetic, and vital body. Vital body is like whatever is up here, right? Higher consciousness.
Okay.
Then you've got your mind, emotional, and your energetic. Energetic is what is around us, like our energetic field, the energy that's stored in our bodies. And so what Reiki healers do is they don't use their own energy, actually. They channel energy through them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the difference. So like otherwise they would be completely depleted. They channel universal source energy through them, they heal, and then you go on. And with somatics, we talk about energy healing, and they teach you how to do light energy healing. So how to channel energy through your heart, and how to heal everything that you can be around. But the goal here with somatics is you've got stored energy, stored emotions, stored trauma. If you can clear that, then that's going to impact everything, all kind of your physical body, your physical surroundings, your physical, your mind, your beliefs, all that kind of thing. Yeah, so if you've had a fear for ages, if you've got injuries, if you have got limiting beliefs, it can help with that too.
So it's a way of cleansing the energy, cleansing your energy in different ways.
Yeah, it's just processing the emotions out of your body. Because there's nothing wrong with a negative emotion, but what is harming is what harms us is when we keep those emotions in our body, and they then manifest into usually physical elements. So for example, I'm trying to think of one that makes sense. It's hard to think off the top of your head, but you might have been in a traumatic event, and that might have caused you to be tense all the time, right?
I'll give you an example. Okay, when I was younger,
give me a good one.
I am terrified of water. I do not know how to swim. because, and I
Okay.
think I was 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember, but I was at some swimming lesson or something. And I don't know if maybe I just went under the water, but in my mind, the way I've seen it in my mind, programmed for 50 years, is that I drowned. I believe that I drowned and then I came back or something. I don't know. There's something in there. And I thought about hypnosis. I thought about all these things. And so many people have like, oh, I'll teach you to swim and all this. And I live near the ocean and water and stuff, but I just do not go in the water. And I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with, not like you said about before, generations back. Maybe there's something in the
Yeah.
grandparents, but that's
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely. And this is something you can tackle though, because this fear will manifest in different ways too. And what you'll notice is when you're faced with that fear, so if you do go near water, the next thing to do next time is notice how you're breathing, notice how your body feels, not noticing just what you're thinking, noticing everything else. Maybe you're standing differently.
Okay.
And then that's where we start.
Okay. Wow. This is fascinating. Yes. Anyone who's interested in learning more about this, definitely get in touch with Emily. Now, I want to know about your show, your podcast, Bubbling Out. Thank you for having me as a guest on the show. I was checking out some of your episodes. Tell me more about this. Tell me more what it's about and who is your ideal listener for Bubbling Out.
Yeah. So Bubbling Out is the result of a rebrand. So it was called Web3 and Thrive, but I cater for way more leaders than just Web3. And so I rebranded, and it really is a sanctuary for people to come in the middle of their crazy, overwhelmed days. Maybe it's like a podcast they'd listen to in the bath, right? And it's to help them understand how to lead in a way that serves them best. And I throw in things like practical tips and tools and resources, but then I also bring all the woo stuff.
Bring in the woo.
And I bring
Love
on,
it. Yes.
Yeah. And so we talk about, like, what I did a while ago was based on decision making. Well, everybody has decision making frameworks and they teach you all this kind of thing, this structured stuff. I taught how to go into the body, how to listen to your intuition, how to use muscle dowsing, right? This is all somatic stuff.
What is that? Pardon.
We need to do another episode on this. So muscle dowsing.
Yes, we need more episodes.
So
okay,
fun.
yes.
Muscle dowsing is so fun. It's so woo-woo, but it's actually not. It's scientific.
Okay.
It basically, lie detectors. They measure your micro muscle movements when you're speaking. It's the same concept.
Okay.
It's not always scientifically backed, but it works. So basically, you hold a pendulum. You do a bit of a ritual first to get your body attuned to it.
Okay.
And you basically ask your subconscious to show you the answer through your muscles, through your movements. And so you're bypassing the brain and the logical mind. This is why it's great, because you might be thinking, I can't do this, or this is the wrong thing, or maybe this is, like, I use it to find things. I'm not even joking. I put this on Instagram the other day. I'd gone to the what do you call it in English? Podiatrist person who makes sure that you're the foot person, because I have weak ankles from a sprain. I needed some things to put in my shoes, insoles, and so I got these really expensive insoles, and I'd be moving them around on my different shoes. And then I'm very known for, like, throwing lots of things. Well, not throwing them out, but giving everything to charity. Like, I do lots of clear outs all the time because I hate mess. So I'm known to do this. I'd done one a few months ago. And then a few weeks ago, I was like, where are my insoles? Because it's not winter anymore, so I'm not wearing my boots. And now we're moving to sneakers. And I looked everywhere. I was like, I have not thrown these out. Like, how? No way have I thrown this out. I don't believe that I've thrown this out. They're somewhere in this house. And Antoine was like, my husband was like, why don't you do your muscle dowsing thing? I was like, oh yeah, good idea. So what you do is you hold a pendulum. So you can just get a necklace with something heavy. That's sweet. You do your little ritual. You hold it like this. And then you ask it questions. So you don't ask it questions, you ask your muscles questions, and then it moves. So you determine what is yes. So you're like, okay, show me a yes. And then it'll swing in one direction. And you're not doing anything, you're
Really?
literally just holding it here. Yeah. And you'll say, show me a no, and it'll do something else. Mine usually like swings around in a circle. Yeah. It's very clear the differences. And then I said, okay, are my insoles in the house? No. Okay, well, I already know. They've gone forever. Have I thrown them away?
Found them?
Yes. Yeah. No, they've gone. I've thrown them away, like literally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was so annoyed. But it's great for these things where you can get a yes and no answer. And it's just quite fun to do, because it's like, you know what it does is it gets you out of your mind. It makes you realize that there is powers bigger than us, and we are powerful too. We are the creator of our entire reality. We have everything we need. We can literally create anything we want if we take the time to listen to ourselves. And so, and I'm constantly reminding myself, like, I'm not like doing all these things all the time, because I do have the, what's the word? The experiences and the conditioning. So it's a constant work to kind of melt those so you can listen to yourself more. And I think that's the biggest problem or biggest challenge for everybody, is becoming self-aware, learning how to work through your conditioning, and then learning how to tap into yourself. It's like a 3-stage thing.
Wow, this is great. Next time I can't find my keys, I'm gonna have to get Sandy's necklace and try to.
Yeah.
No, I'll reach out to you.
I'll teach you. I should do a class on this.
Yeah,
Everybody asks me.
I would do a class on it. Do a LinkedIn live like this on StreamYard.
It's so
Just do a
fun.
live where you teach people how to. Yeah. So
Find stuff.
well, before we wrap up, my signature question, and I also have this question for anybody in the audience who's watching. Last week the comments weren't working. I don't know. Sometimes they weren't working. But I would love to know everybody, and I'd love to know yours as well, Emily. Who is your favorite rock star?
Okay. Does it have to be like a rock star in terms of music?
Doesn't have to be anything. It's just whatever you perceive as a rock star. It's not even rock music. It has nothing to do with music. It's more like it's whatever you perceive.
I love one of my friends, Jin. I would say she's my rock star at the moment. She's like one of these people who just does everything that she wants to do and defies everything. Like she's just like, I'm going to do this because I want it. Like I'm living my life the way I want to live, and I'm going to make it happen no matter what. And so she's doing this huge hike in the Pyrenees for like 37, 50 days, something like that, with her husband.
Oh my God.
And she just finds the means to do it. She's a yoga teacher, mindfulness teacher, breathwork teacher. And she does that, and she's not driven by money. And it's just really refreshing person to be around.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's fab.
Well, I invite everybody to connect with Emily on LinkedIn, on IG, on your website. What is your website?
EmilyRoseDallara.com.
Perfect. And subscribe to her podcast, Bubbling Out. And I want to thank you again, Emily. This is fascinating. We have to continue this over the next couple of months or something.
Yes,
I'm fascinated
definitely.
about this. I can't wait to be on your show as well. So
yes, 2 weeks.
Thank you, everybody tuning in. Until next time. Ciao.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you. Say hi to the family.
Bye.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Oh.